flip coin on the tip. I'm a quick flip coin on the tip. I'm a quick flip coin on the tip. Safe and digital. Scrolling transistors, heavy scripted in the missing. Swallow whole solar system, hold control within the wisdom. Put holes in the system, kill the force that makes decisions. Break the chains, restrict your vision. Load the nukes, we on a mission. Light 'em up quick, split coin, then we tip. Blah, 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 you suck my dick. Light 'em up quick, split coin, then we tip. We coming for your coin, and we coming for your bitches. Bury 'em deep in the ditches. Feeling our riches, we're riches. Cut off the stitches, cover the ridges in blood. We are the ones coming to fuck your shit up. I live forever on this blockchain. You think I'm out here playing fucking games? Feel my wrath, this time this shit gon' change. The water coming when you burning flames.
What up, Vigilantes? I'm here with the one and only Bitoshi Blockamoto. As you guys know, with the rise of Ordinals, a surprise came along the way, and that was Bitmap itself. And I have the pleasure of sitting down with the creator, with the, what do you call yourself, the creator? Of Bitmap, Bitoshi Blockamoto. Thank you for being with us. How are you?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I'm just just chilling, working hard on everything in the background, and I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty well. I would like to ask you, who is Bitoshi? How did Bitoshi come to be?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, wow, that's a big question. So the name, I'll start with the name because that's the easiest place to start. Bitoshi Blockamoto, the name came from Satoshi Nakamoto, which is very obvious when you hear it. If you know Bitcoin, you know Satoshi, you know all this stuff. Um, the idea, the original core concept came from my experience in the metaverse, working and experiencing it firsthand as a resident, I guess you could say, somebody who'd bought into metaverse land, crypto before that, and all that kind of stuff. I had experience running events, running shows, and doing my own thing. So I had a lot of thoughts and opinions on how it should be and how it shouldn't be. So that got me to a point where I'd been through the metaverse cycle. I'd been through the crypto cycles before that. I had a lot of experience, and I've realized that when I first joined the metaverse, it wasn't actually anything to do with blockchain, like the metaverse land. I mean, that's a bit of a blanket statement, but what I mean is the metaverse land itself, like the data of the game and all of that, wasn't on chain. It wasn't running on. The only thing they had was the coordinates data and pointers to places on the map. So that I thought that was cool, but I felt like there was something missing. I couldn't quite put my finger on it for a long time. And Bitcoin hadn't had a metaverse. You know, there hadn't been a situation where people built on Bitcoin because everybody said you can do it on Bitcoin. Ordinals hadn't really. I mean, Ordinals came later than all the metaverse, Ethereum metaverse. So yeah, I got to a point where I cancelled all of my client meetings. I cancelled all of my work, all of my metaverse projects, and anything that was bringing in money, which was quite a bad time to do it because I'd also just been hacked. I'd lost all of my money, all of everything. So I was just starting from scratch, living at my mum's, and I just focus. So I put everything aside, and my mission statement was on-chain metaverse on Bitcoin. And the reason is Bitcoin is the best candidate for something that's going to last forever. The amount of miners and nodes and it spans the globe in a similar way to, I guess you could say, a Dyson sphere would surround the sun,
Hmm.
harnessing energy. That's kind of how I think about it. Like, we're not just creating a place for us to play games online. Otherwise, we just, create another GTA or create another game like that. Like, what my focus is how can we create something that's eternal? And um, and it came to be that in my studies, it took about 6 month study from that mission and shutting everything off to the point where I got to zero.bitmap. And it was a lot of study, a lot of breaking down how does Bitcoin work, how do bits, bytes, how does as getting to the breaking down like computing down to its base levels. The mission of Bitmap started with how do we create an on-chain metaverse that is eternal, that all of the data and everything needed works on chain. And to do that, had to go through a process of learning, um, everything to do with Bitcoin, everything to do with blockchain, breaking it down to the bits, the bytes, the how it all works. And yeah, that was about a 6 month process, to the point where, my first experiment was just as Ordinals was coming to be. It was, I mean, it was good timing because I just started getting into Ordinals around about the same time it just come out. Um, and yeah, Ordinals was the thing, like it tapped into the taproot. Um, it tapped into Taproot and it tapped into all of that stuff that made made it possible for us to be able to create inscriptions and put things on chain in the same way that you would on Ethereum if you was to do on chain, um, like on chain chains. Like there's a lot of people that were actually working on the chain and not just creating pointers. But for it to be on Bitcoin, the mother chain, that just seems like out of reach to a lot of people. But I could see that it was possible, and I could see that all of the limitations that people had created were kind of artificial, and it was just a matter of learning, like, how does Bitcoin work, how does it all work. And yeah, and that's what I did. And when I realized that the block data itself could be used as the basis of the metaverse land, that was the biggest breakthrough for me, because it meant that the actual land itself, you didn't need to cram like all of the environment data onto the chain, because it was the chain. So that saves like probably 99% of data that would be needed for that. So it's just a matter of like, how does that then get converted to land? So for me, that was my process, and it's been
Okay,
it's
so
been
how
a long
about
journey. But
for all of those watching that are listening to your story thus far, a lot of them may be asking, what is a metaverse? Could you please break down for them what a metaverse is and why it's important?
yeah, sure. So metaverse, the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of, or somebody's mind when you think of metaverse, is a virtual world. Um, but the most important part of it, which I think it was Neil Stevenson, Neil Stevenson coined the word metaverse, and in Snow Crash. Um, and the most important part of it is the persistence. It's a virtual world that is persistent, that persists, and also it's universal. It can be accessible by anybody in the world. You don't need any special rights or anything like that. Anybody can access it. So that's my definition of metaverse, and that's what I've been striving towards the whole time. Of that, or in my opinion, I think it's the best example of that and the most viable for the future.
Okay, so when we talk about this, uh, the first thing I think about is having an environment where you can work and play. And it's a different type of environment and a different type of interaction with the internet, where the internet is now a place that you can immerse yourself in, where you're not just dependent on a screen, but rather where you can use augmented reality and virtual reality to be a lot more efficient. And so let's talk about those efficiencies. Like, how, or what can I do within the metaverse that I can't do elsewhere? I'm really curious to dig deep into this. Like, I am a person who wants my freedom, and I don't want to be completely subjected to the walls of having to put on a headset. So what would you say is the compelling reason to put on the VR? What advantages would I have with AR, VR over the internet interfaces of the screens as we have them?
I would say the virtual reality side of things, the headset and the goggles is that's one aspect of it. There's lots of, you trace it into the future. You've also got Neuralink and things like that. So it can get pretty deep when you start really thinking about it. So that's kind of the level, or that's where I'm thinking. I'm thinking like um, future proofing a, a standard. Basically, what I want to do is create a place that can be accessed through phones and any way that you want to interact with it. It's no different to the internet. The only I call it the interweb because it's it's an internet that is self-contained. It's only got 600-ish gigabytes of data in it, and there's a value to that. If you want to add to Bitcoin, if you want to, create a transaction, you have to pay the fee. So I kind of saw Bitcoin differently once I realized that. Um, Once I realized that it's not just a place to transact money, it's a place to store information. Just like the internet, servers are a place to store information. But the problem with servers is they're centralized and they can be taken down at any point. Whereas Bitcoin is permanent, it's universal, anyone can access it. So that to me that's the value. And then when you bring in the virtual reality and the headset and the things like that, that's where it gets interesting. Uh, yeah, yeah. So that's my journey so far.
So when we talk about open source technology, technology that is of the people, from the people, that is, we find itself constantly being compared to centralized closed source technology. And you have all these operating systems, and then you have Linux. And it seems to me that throughout the history of open source technology, there really wasn't an economic incentive for these technologies to propagate until we had Bitcoin. And because we have the blockchain and the market drivers within, open source can expand to new horizons and can actually move beyond just a garage project where people, other geeks will use it. The financial incentive moves us forward. So I'm thinking of comparing what I just said to BitTorrent. BitTorrent was very popular before Bitcoin, it actually still it's still incredible technology. A lot of people are still using it. Has a lot of users. Last time I counted, it was just millions of people using BitTorrent. But the financial drivers behind Bitcoin and crypto make it so the technology itself can compound and build upon itself over time as you grow the network effect. People find profit and people seek profit, and in turn, growing the network effect even more. What I see you accomplishing is giving the open source world a place to start off in what I personally find the most sound of fundamentals, proof of work. And I want to kind of like get into your mind, like why and how is the metaverse based on Bitcoin more important and more capable than the metaverse based on proof of stake?
Yeah, that's a good question. But proof of work essentially means that I think of it in terms of alchemy, in the sense that you're you're dedicating all this computing energy, and all these computers are running constantly to try and solve this algorithm to you know to for the all the miners are competing to essentially solve the next block in it, which isn't necessarily the case with proof of stake. They're not running, the machines aren't running uh, at the same level. So I think of proof of work as alchemically, if you're thinking of it in that sense, it's sound. Because it's an equal exchange of energy from the earth that we're transmuting into energy of the metaverse. So I thought of that as like the Higgs boson of the of the metaverse. It gives mass to the metaverse. That's how I see it.
Bro, that's badass. Wow. That blows my mind. Wow, wow, that really blows my mind. I'm kind of speechless after you said that. I'm actually invited to to an event with the unified field theorist. I think his name is Nassim Haram. Sorry, I apologize. I messed up his name. But if we are going to be part of a metaverse, I don't want to be part of a centralized one. And I consider personally proof of stake to be a centralized metaverse as well. Like
Mm.
any proof of stake based metaverse to be centralized as well. What are your thoughts on the Apple Vision Pro? It came and it went. There was a lot of hype before it. Where's the hype now? What happened? I didn't even follow it because I just got caught up with other stuff. So can you tell me what happened to the Apple Vision Pro? Was it a success? Was it as successful as Apple intended it to be?
That's a good question. I think it was very, I don't know. Steve Jobs is a visionary. What was a visionary? Um, and his mind was behind a lot of the things that happened in Apple, and he had to go through a lot of situations like being kicked out of a company and having to find his way back, and because they had that realization it's not going to work without Steve Jobs. So personally, I think that's part of the reason. I think it's a great product conceptually, and it's got legs, as a. But I think
You want me to
it's
tell you the
VR.
real reason? I think it's not the success that I think Apple wanted it to be. I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
I'll give you why. I'll tell you why. The reason why I think it's not the success that Apple needed to be, and I hope Apple executives are watching this, and I hope Apple shares, people share it with them, share what I'm about to say. I think it's because people can tolerate centralization within an internet that is still hands off, still not on my body. People are okay with centralization if it's over there, it's just a screen. It's not on me. Even though, yes, we know there's problems with surveillance, there's still the idea that I can use hardcore cryptography. I can use cryptography, or I can use any other measure to be more secure in my personal life, to keep my data, my personal life, away from big tech. Now, when you ask the human person, hey, wear this, put this on your face, and use centralized software with centralized hardware, at that moment, the human person says, whoa. What they don't realize, I don't think, is that innately the human person has a sense of dignity that you would have to completely lose your scruples as a person to allow yourself to be consumed by a device that completely maps your facial expressions and every little aspect of the way you are. And even maps, and when I was looking at the patents for reading brainwaves, I came across devices that looked exactly like the Apple Vision Pro. And I was like, holy smokes.
Yikes.
They're fucking gonna, like, I do not trust any device personally that is gonna read my brainwaves. I just can't. It's like, hell no. And it's just, that bothers me. That bothers me. And so I had to step away and kind of reassess everything. And I'm like, okay, this is going to happen, but it needs to happen in the right way.
Yeah.
And the starting ground for doing this the right way is Bitmap, because now we're using open source technology. You don't have to use open source technology, but the foundation of the network effect and everything is on-chain, open source, and interoperable, where I can enjoy the goodness that comes from being more interconnected and using augmented reality as a designer, as an artist, virtual reality if I'm a gamer. But I still could preserve my autonomy. My dignity is preserved when I hold my data on chain in a way that is open source and interoperable. That to me is extremely valuable, because it turns out that technology is agnostic to how we see the world or what we think. Technology doesn't care. So if you just use technology the right way, then yeah, I'll tell you something. If Apple Vision Pro, if they would have embraced as a foundation Bitcoin, Bitmap, I think Apple Vision Pro would be a nonstop event. I honestly think that if Steve Jobs were alive right now, I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs. A lot of Bitcoiners are. I don't think Steve Jobs would have started a company. I think he would have. I think the Steve Jobs of today would have been working on chain. Why would he be part of a boomer corporate structure where he had to actually leave or got fired from, when you can just deploy on chain? And
Exactly.
when I'm thinking about this, I realize that, it's not like open source, because a lot of bit naysayers would say right now, Raph, well, open source existed back when Steve was around, and he chose not to develop something open source. Yes, it existed, but not to the degree that it exists today with the market drivers that came along with Bitcoin, not without the security of proof of work, not without the parallel scaling that we find only in the UTXO model that Satoshi gave us, that is opposite to the account-based model that comes from the banks, where every transaction is a computation. Like, Steve Jobs would be a Bitcoiner right now if he were alive. Like, I guarantee it. Why is that? Because why would he be using, as someone as forward thinking as he was, why would he have been using something antiquated? a server model that is antiquated. Why would he be using a network effect that is not as interconnected as the blockchain? The blockchain is the most See, guys, I put these books are a mimetic here for you. This is the most important book if you're in crypto right now. It's called Complex Social Networks, and it is the textbook on network topologies, on network topological graphs. It's written by Vega Redondo, is his name. It's printed by Cambridge Press, and I highly recommend this book. Here, I'm going to get it out, and I'm going to show you the cover. Here you go. This is what you guys all need to read. This book right here will tell you why Bitmap is important. Okay, let's read real quick the contents. All right, so you guys understand what the heck I'm talking about, right? Introduction: the new field of complex social networks, of complex networks. Part 1: realms of applications and empirical evidence. Part 2: an interdisciplinary approach. Second section: social economic networks and the issue of embeddedness. Number 1, labor markets. Number 2, technological diffusion. Number 3, social movements and group recruitment. Number 4, informal insurance. Number 5, peer effects and antisocial behavior. 6, trade and trust. 7, research and development and inter-firm partnerships. 8, organizations, networks, and network organizations. Section 3, the complexity of social networks. Section 4, the diffusion, search, and play in social networks, an overview of what follows. Gosh, I should do a whole video on this. This is fucking amazing. But dude, this book is incredible. I can just, there's like 2 more pages of content that I want to read out to you guys because it's freaking amazing. So section 2 is complex networks basic theory. Definitions and presentations, some types of networks, network characteristics, Poisson random networks, general random networks, small worlds. That's what a blockchain is, guys. It's a small world network. They describe it here very well. Scale-free networks, epidemic diffusion, meaning going viral, alternative theoretical scenarios, the SI model, resilient diffusions, the SIR model, the reach of diffusion waves, the SIS model, long-run prevalence, the long-run prevalence of regular networks, long-run prevalence of in random networks, immunization, diffusion policy, immunization, cure, structured networks. Dude, this is incredible, dude. Like, so when you read this, you realize like the internet with financial, here, I'll just put the rest of the table of contents up because I got tired of reading it for you guys to read. Let's take a Snapchat of that bad boy. Look at that. You see that?
Yeah, that's great, man.
This is an incredible textbook. This is the textbook. You guys have to read it. Complex Social Networks, subtitle, Economic Society Monographs. You don't need Apple anymore. You don't need Facebook. You don't need Twitter. And people realize that with crypto more and more each day. So when a proposition like Bitmap comes along, you have to step back and realize that you're proposing something bigger than just money as cryptocurrency, just money as network effects. We can build the future of the internet on chain.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel, Bitoshi? Everything that I said, how does that make you feel? Because to me, see, this is the thing. When Bitmap came along, to me, it was not just an NFT. To me, it was the beginning, the foundation, the groundwork of, to be completely honest, with all humility, man. You know, and I'm very humbled and honored to have you here. This is the foundation of the new internet. How does that make you feel? What do you think?
It's a big responsibility, and I take it very seriously. And I try to not let the weight of it get to me too much because it is a big deal, and it's so easy for it to go wrong. And it's people have taken the concept in their own way and done it many different ways, like from the start of Bitmaps. But for me, it's the start of the new internet. It's the internet that will be there forever. Everything that is put on there will be there forever. It will never go away.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're showing us, man. They're showing us with wearables. Heck, now implantables like Neuralink. They're showing us where they're taking us, whether you like it or not. Kicking and screaming. If you don't like it or not, if you're a privacy enthusiast, that's the future of the internet. Have you heard of the Internet of Bodies, Bitoshi?
Ooh, I have not. It sounds
It's a heavy,
ominous.
it's a very heavy topic. So the Internet of Bodies is what it sounds. I'll put a clip right now. Go.
They call it part of the fourth industrial revolution.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change. Up until now, the conversation we've been having is around freedom of speech. Once we can access people's thoughts and access people's emotions.
The focus, as all of you know, today is on what's now called the Internet of Bodies, involving medical implants and other kinds of devices that go inside your body and all together with the internet as a whole comprise the Internet of Bodies.
The Internet of Bodies, or IOB, is actually an ecosystem. It's a bunch of devices that are connected to the internet that contain software and that either collect personal health data about you or can alter the body's function. We think of the Internet of Bodies as this collection of all these devices as well as all the data that the devices are gathering about you. And in healthcare, it's Internet of Bodies has been around for quite a while.
So the Internet of Bodies, imagine the power of AI. What is artificial intelligence? It's a way to automate computation and cognition. So we can now automate learning, perceiving, doing computation. It's a pervasive general purpose technology that will be used in all of our industries, that will come into our professional networks, our private networks, our schools, our industries and our offices. What I wanted to epitomize with the Internet of Bodies is this notion that we will be under assessment, we will be under measure of computation in every aspect of our lives in the future. From what you eat, who you date, what you buy on the internet, how much energy you use, but also what are your vital signs? How well are you doing in terms of health? What kind of specific genetic quirks do you have? What's your genome telling about your health, about your mental health, about how well you are doing, how well you are aging, what kind of disease you are susceptible to?
It has a bit of an Orwellian twinge to it.
Well,
we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
This is Richard Werner, the top academic scholar in the world on central banking. He wrote the book and did the documentary, The Princes of the Yen, about the Japanese central bank. Here he is in Malmo, Sweden, in May.
The nature of this CBDC, what is it actually going to look like? They never talk about that. Right. But I heard one European central banker tell me what it's going to look like. He saw it. He was invited to one of the old central banks in Europe that are very much promoting this. And they showed him. And, you know, he's a top, executive director of another central bank in Europe, and there's no reason to believe that he was telling me a story. And he was around this large and would be implanted under your skin.
Yeah, British company has an idea that would let you ditch your wallet or purse and still be able to pay for things. The company Walletmore says the $300 chip is the size of a grain of rice. You'd most likely have it implanted in your hand, and once it's activated, you can use it at a checkout by just swiping your hand over the card reader.
FTX blew up in spectacular fashion. It looks like fraud. But in the wake of that, rather than thinking through, like, why did regulators let this happen, there's a new effort underway to regulate every single financial transaction that occurs in this country through something called the Central Bank Digital Currencies, CBDC. If that happens, we're done.
So you might have missed what happened Wednesday afternoon at the Fed, but they started their CBDC. Maybe we should start having the conversation of, gosh, this looks like the mark of the beast.
COVID makes it accelerates the process of digitalization and automatization. It legitimizes the deployment of mass surveillance, even in democratic countries, and it makes surveillance go under your skin.
Catherine Austin Fitz, I have a question for you, ma'am. These central bank digital currencies, how do they work?
So it's a digital currency and an all digital system that can be controlled centrally. So, for example, we saw during COVID-19, there were rules saying you couldn't travel more than a certain amount of miles from your house, right? So there's certain behaviors you couldn't do. This is a digital system where the central bankers, and in very centralized ways, can make rules about what you can and cannot do with your money, and they can enforce the rules with total surveillance.
If people were to read Executive Order 14067, what kind of things are they going to find within Biden's Executive Order 14067?
So they're not going to understand what CBDCs are by reading the executive order. Okay. So I would recommend that everybody go to Solari.com, and there's a section on the homepage called Cash Every Day. And if you click on it, there are a series of videos that will explain to you in very short order. The first one is a 56-second video from Augustine Carstens, the general manager of the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, who will explain to you in 56 seconds exactly how CBDCs will work.
We tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
How concerned are you about the collapse of the U.S. dollar, sir?
I'm very concerned. And it's more than just the U.S. There's a thing called the BRICS nations. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And what happened in 2021, I believe, when we abandoned Afghanistan, on that day, Saudi Arabia shifted allegiances from America trading in dollars, petrodollars. Saudi Arabia switched sides to China and Russia. It's the end of the dollar system. So the end is near for the US dollar, and my concern is it's going to wipe out stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. Just for my generation, the boomer generation, we're in serious trouble, because the only reason our stocks, bonds, mutual funds are up is because the Fed and the Treasury just kept printing more and more money. Instead of fixing the problem from 2008, they just kept printing more money. And it's about to come to an end. So that's why when I say to people, buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin. You want to stay in what I call real assets, tangible assets. That's my opinion. Most people say buy US treasuries. That's Harry Dent. I wouldn't trust anything printed by the US government, but that's me. I don't like anything that can be printed.
Now, the BRICS nations, again, to repeat for everybody who's hearing this for the first time, you might hear about the BRICS nations. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, Africa. Those comprise roughly 41% of the Earth's population, and they are teaming up together to unseat the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. And now you have Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Nigeria, Venezuela, Algeria, Turkey, and Argentina all teaming up to unseat the US dollar as the world's US.
You're on it, man. You're on it. You're on it. Everybody, listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. You have the macro picture. Very few people have that point of view. And the Great Reset will be the collapse of the dollar.
Inflation.
Inflation.
When demand is greater than supply, either you get shortages or you get price increases. And actually what we had was a mixture of both.
We are in an inflationary spiral.
66% of people polled expect inflation to get worse.
The value of the dollar since I was born has declined by 94% to 6 cents.
We are about to face one of the greatest periods of uncertainty in American history. Organize your finances, expand your knowledge, your insight as to what it is that you have, and then start making decisions.
When people go to bh-pm.com, they can schedule a free consultation. You're talking about going from the intangible into the tangible.
If you can't hold it in your hand, then it's not yours. You don't own it. You can physically hold actual gold and silver. It ships fully insured directly to your home.
Inflation rates are going to continue to rise. Don't wait. Don't keep putting off decisions that you know you must make.
The Internet of Bodies is something real, guys, and it's patented and it's on its way, and it's using let's not get conspiratorial. It's not a conspiracy. The damn patents are there, and the technology to make these things happen has already been deployed and is being deployed. So the question is like, how do you have this is kind of like the main tension that we come back to. Technology is not bad. Technology is good, but it's how you use it. So how can you use these technologies in a wholesome way? Well, you first and foremost have to take care of the individual. How do you, if you're going to have a village, you're going to create a village. The first thing you think about is, where are the people going to sleep? Right? Shelter. Are they protected from the elements? Are they protected from, and if you have a village that is a freedom-oriented village, like a republic, like the United States of America, right? Oh, this is a badass book, by the way, guys. If you guys haven't read it, highly recommend it. By Murray Rothbard. In Liberty Conceived is the story of the United States of America. Amen. All right. Anyways, you have to ask yourselves, like, what protections do people have? What kind of shelter? What aspects of life? And you obviously even protect the people from the government itself, right? You have like a division of power. And what they tell us is that for example, in the US, there's executive, legislative, and judicial branches that, that's the story you're told, right? You're secure, you're safe, even from an encroaching government. Beautiful. Okay. But now most of your life is met on the internet. So what if I were to tell you that with what Satoshi gave us, we have a technology that uses the best of social networking, of economic society monographing, which is that of Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin. We're talking about Bitcoin here, guys. It's the economic drivers found within the best network structures where we can come and be interoperable and then build the future in a place where you own your data, you're secure and safe, where you're not at the whims and at the hands of Apple. So I digress with everything that I said, Bitoshi, and I apologize, to make the point that I think that I really think it would be in the best interest of Apple if they embrace Bitmap. How would that look in your world if you got a letter in the mail or something, or, you know, if they reach out to you and they said, hey, we really just want to base everything we do in Apple on Bitmap, how would you take that? What would be your impression? Because I noticed that you were offered VC money and you said, nope, I'm going to keep this pure. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because I saw how it affected the metaverse before, and I saw that when VC money gets involved, it pours in and then everyone celebrates, and then it very quickly gets sucked back out. So everybody who bought in because it was going up then have, you know, they rely on it, and then they lose a lot of money. And, you know, that's your life energy. In the words of Michael Saylor, that's your life energy. Like money is life energy. So when they're sucking your life energy, that's essentially, I call that, it's a bit of a, it's an old way. I call them the vampire cult, because in this new world, it's not the way things should be.
Here.
That's the way I see it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's not to knock VC, because that world existed before Bitcoin was here, and it's the way things used to be. It's the way things have been. But when you deploy that on something that's open source, that's comes from the individual to build the collective, it soils the pot, and you're now taking from it, going back to alchemy. You're withdrawing more energy than you're inputting.
Right on. So I think that they're going to keep trying to put people into a centralized database more and more. And this movement of freeing money is now, that came with Bitcoin, now is moving into, Bitcoin itself is moving into another like superpower, which is freeing data. So it's not just the coin aspect of let's free the money, but now it's free the data, the bit aspect of Bitcoin. And I think you're at the forefront of this, man. So congratulations, man. Cheers to you, because we need that in the world. We need to free the data. Where are we going? Where are we going, Bitoshi? Where are we going with Bitmap? Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, data wants to be free. That's the thing. And everything that is a token on Bitcoin is also a financial instrument. It can be used as such. So that's not to say that the VC money isn't welcome, or any sort of money isn't welcome. It's nothing like that. It's just, you have to respect the what we're doing here. We're not building business. We're building businesses. We're building the Great Pyramid of Giza. We're building the Library of Alexandria. That's what we're doing, and it's going to last beyond all of our lives, like way beyond all of our lives. It may even last longer than the Great Pyramids, because, you know, as technology progresses, we're going to get better and better at storing it in different ways. You know, it's already in the satellite. We've got satellites running Bitcoin nodes, so it's already in space. And how long until it's interplanetary? That's the way I see things. So it's the interplanetary interweb.
Let's talk about Bitmap itself and what has been done, what are people doing, and what's on the horizon. Yeah. So what has been done on Bitmap?
Yeah, so the standard, from the point when the standard was, when I released the standard, the white paper and the Git book, and it started as the metaverse, and in the traditional concept, that's kind of how I thought about it. So we're at the point now where we've got the foundations of the internet. So we just released index.bitmap. Probably best to start here where we are now, and then work our way back. So yeah, we just released index.bitmap. That was, for me, this was the start of the interweb concept being brought out of Bitmap. So that means that anybody can create an ordinal that is their index page in a similar way to when you go to www.google or any website, it will forward you to the index page, the index.html. So that's the point we're at now regarding on-chain bitmap. And that's where I am. There's been many other executions. Other people have created on-chain renditions of bitmap, but for it to be fully on-chain, we all basically need to come together and just agree on a few things, really. Like, we're so close now to being... We're so close. There's a few endpoints that need to be added to Ordinals, and then we're there. Like, we literally have all of the blockchain data accessible through Ordinals. Once that happens, whether it's through Casey or whether, you know, we have to build something ourselves, I think, and this is my message to Casey, what we need is transaction data and input and output data. Once we have that, then bitmap can be completed. And then from that point, it can just be built upon, because, yeah, so the white paper is very specific in what I want from bitmap, because it has to have all of the aspects of Bitcoin within it for it to be viable. You know, you can fractionalize each bit of land, which you can think of as like a index of storage. Each piece can be fractionalized into smaller pieces down to the Satoshi level. So each piece of land, each Satoshi is like a point on that index. In a similar way, like Ordinals itself works on that level. You have the Satoshis, and the inscriptions are baked into the Satoshis, like they're indexed to the Satoshis. But for me, what it was missing is the ability to construct and actually take the natural landscape of Bitcoin, which I saw visually. I always saw that in a visual way. And it wasn't until I came across Bitfeed that I realized that other people saw it that way. And that was when, at that point, the standard was reached a level where I could release it with some visuals and just the simple text inscription, because I was thinking I had to build the whole metaverse and do it all, build a team, and I went through the motions of like, how would you do this? And thinking traditionally, like how could we build a team, get some money, and all that kind of stuff. I went through all of that. But for me, the only way it could be done is very simple standards that people can build upon. So that's kind of the level I got to, and that's kind of a roundabout way of talking about where we're going with Bitmap and where we are. But yeah, it's a heavy subject, and yeah.
So BTC right now, Bitcoin BTC is very focused on layer 2 scaling. If I read what you just said correctly, you personally would like the layer 1 of Bitcoin to scale more so that you can have more capacities for Bitmap. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. It's more so, are you talking about big blocks kind of to actually changing the protocol? Because personally, I think Bitcoin is perfect. I think the block size and everything like that is perfect, and I don't think we need a layer 2.
So what do you need then? What does Bitmap need?
So all we need is the transaction data endpoints within Ordinals. So we already have block data. We can access that through an Ordinal. You can have all of the block data expressed, and we released the Atlas recently, which is a very simple block explorer, similar to mempool, where you can enter your block number and get all the block info, but you can't. It won't reveal the transaction data, and it won't reveal you can't go deeper into the inputs and outputs because those endpoints aren't there yet.
So what do you need? Do you need opcodes enabled? Sorry to cut you off. Do you need opcodes enabled for this? What is it that you need in order to have access to that input-output data?
So at the moment, yeah. So through that's a tough question. So I've been trying to go through, figure it out through Casey, like ask, because he has been adding these endpoints through the opcodes and how all the block data. But personally, that's like my focus is using what Casey is building, and it's a struggle because his attention has been on runes, and I'm a fan of what he's doing with runes, but I feel like he's not. He says himself he doesn't want to be doing this.
Yeah, runes is just a token standard, whereas ordinals is actual data, right? Am I correct in that distinction?
Yeah, that's right. So
that's right.
So my hope and my message to Casey is, I wish we could get back to ordinals and get back to what we're doing here, which is his mission. I can see that from his trajectory and his path is building the Library of Alexandria, and for me, building the Great Pyramid of Giza and all of that. Like, so I would love for us to be able to work together. He's got a brain that exceeds my ability in terms of working with opcodes and things like that. Like, I'm not the smartest developer. I'm barely a developer, like, to put it mildly. Like, so I just did a lot of learning in terms of computing and how everything works. So, and that sometimes that throws people off guard that I'm just a guy who just learned a lot about Bitcoin, how that all works. So I basically, and just to, I piggybacked off what Ordinals had already done when I realized that it could be used in this way for Bitmap, for the metaverse. So yeah, really what I'd like to collaborate and work with them on the mission, which I think is, the proper mission of how can we build future permanence for everything we do in terms of data.
Wow, dude, that really blows my mind that you say that we're that close to having all of those things enabled within Bitmap. How far are we from that then exactly? Is just having things enabled, or for things to be written within the code of Ordinals itself, within the Ordinals protocol itself? Is that all you really are waiting for? Are you really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so it wasn't long ago since he added the block data, the ability to pull block data, like the block header data from through an ordinal, through an inscription itself. So when I saw that, I realized, okay, he is on this path. He is doing that. So that gave me faith that he will eventually add the transaction data and input and output data, and then that's all we need. And he already has the SAT data endpoints. They're already there. I don't see anything else that we need. But to be honest, that's it for me. And I think we can get there. It's so close, man. Yeah, I was writing a tweet today. I was gonna post it. But
so it's actually not hard to do. Once Casey focuses on that, you're saying that it would be a cakewalk for him to do.
Exactly. Okay. Everything else will be a breeze. Everyone who's building off-chain will see, I think once a few examples come out, they'll see that, okay, what we're building off-chain can now be done on-chain very easily, because now we don't need off-chain indexes. I mean, that's the thing, with this close for an ordinal to be able to be the on-chain indexer. That's what we need, man.
That's awesome. How far would you say we are from this happening?
Well, that's down to, at the moment, if Casey is going to focus on that, and if the old team are going to focus on that, then it can be very quick. But I don't know how, and if that's not going to be their focus, then it would mean that would have to be my focus. I would have to figure out exactly how to implement that myself, or work through work through the hard problems that need to be solved to get to that point, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. But it would mean, I'd have to create another system and figure out how to work with the ordinal, and I just that doesn't seem like the way to go for me. I feel it's best if it comes from that side of things, comes from Ord.
I see. So, worst case scenario, if you had to do it, how long would that take?
If I dedicated my time to it, it shouldn't, not too long. It would just be a case of focus. If I knew that, if it was a hard no, or if I couldn't, I would just spend a month or 2 months focused on that. It probably wouldn't even take that long. It would be much quicker than that.
Well, what if the community wanted to fund that? Would you be open to providing a place for people to help you to contribute to that? So you just focus and get it done, get it out of the way?
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll definitely think about that. I'm not too worried about that. I'm more worried about how it would interact with the existing. Yeah, the big problem is how it interacts with the existing Ord client, or whether we would need to start fresh, or how we do that. And we're actually, I'm working with my brother at the moment. We've been working on some things regarding how you would do things like, he's got a brain similar to mine, which is fun because he's also an engineer, so he can figure things out in ways that I can't, and I can give him my solutions to his problems, and yeah, we work very well together. He's at the point where he's figuring out how you would search within Ordinals, but that, create a search engine as an inscription. But that it requires a very specific way of doing things, and it would mean starting from zero again. But you can still do it within Ordinals. So it's like another zero.bitmap type situation.
But it would be using bitmap, or would it not be? It would be a new bitmap, or what? What do you mean? What does that mean?
So this is just another example to kind of describe what can be done once we have all of the data, and how he's going about it. I won't reveal too much because we're working very hard on this. Let's say, like, we have most of the hard problems solved. It's just a case of execution, and if we can't work through Casey, then we would just have to do it ourselves. Then it won't take. It would just, yeah.
So what I feel like saying, and this is not financial advice, it's just my observation, it seems like we are getting ready for another explosion, a big ass explosion within Bitmap once this is enabled. And you're saying that worst case scenario, it would only take 2 months. 2 months go by really, really, really fast. So yeah, not financial advice, but I think a Bitmap is very fucking cheap right now. Just my opinion, not financial advice at all. Like, holy smokes, man. Because like I said earlier, like the whole point I was making was that, like, if the day that, like, the Apple Vision Pro, for example, says, okay, we will build using Bitcoin, it's game over. Because I really feel as if people are apprehensive about using a metaverse that is centralized. And that's why I think that they weren't as successful as they expected themselves to be. Like, I have friends that work at Apple, and they told me that when the Apple, well, I don't have friends that work at Apple. I know people that have friends that work at Apple, and they told me that when the Apple Vision Pro was announced, that it was exactly like the first iPhone was announced. There was a party, and it was just like it was very similar vibe. But I feel as if when the iPhone was given to the world, there was a sense of freedom behind it all. And now when the Apple Vision Pro is given to the world, we see that people are already becoming more and more aware of the necessity because of Bitcoin, the necessities for privacy, the necessity for security, like hash power. So there is already a world. So when the first iPhone came out, there wasn't like a strong open source ethos that was the most emergent economy in the world. That didn't exist when the iPhone came out. But now when this comes out, the Apple Vision Pro, the fastest emerging market on the planet is Bitcoin and crypto itself. So the mindset of the audience of the world is already different. We're different. People are different. People have seen freedom, they've tasted freedom, and they want more freedom. And so I think that if a very smart move from a big company would be like, okay, well then let's give them that freedom. Let's play within that freedom ecosystem. Sure, we'll still have our IP and all that stuff, but to connect with that would be the way to go about doing things. It's almost like, let me give you this example. In the world of tech, of data, to not consider using Bitmap is akin to a financial institution saying Bitcoin is stupid now. Does that make sense? Does that make sense what I just told you?
Yeah. Or like when the old media was starting to hear about the internet, and they would, they talk about it being a fad and things like that. It's like, no, this is literally your future.
Yeah, if any company wants to flip Apple right now, just embrace this. It's just that simple. If you want to literally change if you really want to get ahead of Apple, this is how you do it. You embrace hash power, not in finance, but in data. You embrace Bitcoin in the world of data, and in the architecture of the metaverse, of the future of the internet, you use the blockchain itself, the biggest proof of work blockchain in the world, Bitcoin itself. And that, my friends, is called Bitmap. So I just gave you guys an idea worth billions, like fucking trillions. like I just did. Like, it's just here. Like, if you want to outcompete Apple, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Will they do it? The question is how they're gonna do it eventually. Just like the banks finally started considering that, Bitcoin is, it's something I should pay attention to. And then you had a Michael Saylor, right? You had, big entities embracing Bitcoin. The same thing's going to happen with data, man. What are your thoughts on that? How long till we see something like that happen?
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of music in a similar way to Steve Jobs and the iPod. I'm thinking music is a very special type of data that it's very expensive to get it onto Bitcoin, but if you can get it onto Bitcoin, wow, that's going to last forever. So you're anything that's currently on a centralized system that can be taken down by copyright strikes and all these systems that are in place to make sure that music cannot be controlled, or music can be controlled by central entities that have contracts in place to all this stuff to control what gets out there. The data can be placed forever on Bitcoin, and no one can ever take that away.
Damn. I'm that meme right now.
Explosion.
Oh man, this is intense. What an intense conversation I'm having with you, bro. This is wild.
Yeah, it's big.
So it's almost as if like, well, I come from the big blocker side of the civil war in Bitcoin, and we want it all now. Like we fucking just want to go now, get it now. And the small blocker world has been more like, let's squeeze every little aspect of Bitcoin as time goes on, and let's scale slowly. And you have the wizards talking about opcat and re-enable that opcode. Like, to me, bro, that's like that's like molasses virality. You know what I mean? Like, I want it now, bro. I want everything now. Everything Satoshi gave me now. Where do you stand in all that? Where do you come in with all that?
I think that's perfectly valid, and I think that's part of the system that Satoshi gave us, is the ability to fork and create parallel systems. I think it's extremely valuable because you can do things on the other chains, the big blockchains, that you can't do on Bitcoin. And you know, at the end of the day, the one that they're all gonna survive as long as our energy, you know, there's energy behind it. So I don't see it as, I don't have any strong opinions for and against big blocks. It's just the in terms of longevity, I think you know, 600 gig of data, the expansion rate of the data is extremely important for the longevity into the future. Because, I mean, you know, it's difficult because storage also gets better and better every year. Like, so, you know, I understand the big block argument as well. So at the end of the day, if it's not the mother chain Bitcoin that ends up being the one that lasts forever, like it could go that way. It could go either way, man. I'm down for any eventuality as long as, you know, it's viable.
So here, let me ask you something real quick, man. What's up with Merlin? Can you explain to people what Merlin was? A lot of bitmap landlords locked themselves into Merlin. What was Merlin? Since we're talking about other blockchains, I think this is an important topic to be had. What is Merlin? What's going on there? What was it? What happened? What's going on?
1 second.
Yes, sir. Take your time.
I'm just getting a knock on the door. 1 second.
It's all good, man. You let me know if you need me to step up. Got my rifle ready, bro.
Yeah, okay, so where is that?
What's up?
Yeah, okay, Merlin.
Merlin! Yeah, bro. Fucking love
Merlin,
this.
the wizards.
The wizards, let's get them. So I equate the on-chain world to hunting. So I keep my hunting rifle around just as like a mimetic, you know, like bro, I'm like hunting the next alpha, right? So yeah, this is my baby right here, man. This is how I roll. Fucking roll, dude. Ooh.
Yeah, man. So
I
Merlin,
see it.
let's go.
Come again? all the gun geeks are probably gonna be like, I wonder what Rav had. What kind of gun Rav had? Yeah, you didn't see the serial number, fuckers. Yeah, I didn't show you the serial number, or did I? No, I didn't. Haha. All right. Anyways, so
yeah,
Merlin. What's Merlin? What's going on? Tell us about Merlin.
Yeah, Merlin is like, much to my chagrin, I guess you could say. I never really wanted, and I don't really have any control over what people do with their bitmaps. I didn't really want layer 2 to be the thing that got people excited. It didn't make sense to me.
It's just people want now, man. That's the thing. People, it's like the dopamine addiction is so high that it's just like, that's all it is, man. It's just dopamine addiction. Like, I want it now, bro. So pardon me, you were saying? You were saying?
Yeah, and it scared me a lot because people were locking in their bitmaps, and there was a lot of people were locking in their bitmaps to Merlin chain, and there was no clear way. There's no clear solution for how it operates, and I still, I still don't fully understand it. I haven't even touched Merlin, to be honest. I don't want to. I see that as if they...
Same here, bro. I haven't touched it either, dude.
And like, nothing against what you're doing, Merlin. I appreciate your magic powers and everything you're doing, but it just doesn't make sense to me. It's something that seemed off, and I really wanted, at the time, I really wanted to say something, but I have to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I have to, because I've been in a position where I haven't trusted people that are building on Bitmap, and they've turned out to be, they've turned out to be doing the right thing. But that's because my experience with being hacked and all that. I know how easy it is.
Yeah, and the thing is that like, like, I'm pretty sure the Merlin guys, they have the financial incentive to do good. They have the financial incentive to deliver something into market, and I think that they're going to grow along with us. I don't know them personally. I can't vouch for them. I've never met them. I don't even know who they are. But I do know that Bitcoin has the incentive drivers to move us towards doing the best for one another. So I think it's beautiful. I wouldn't have done a second layer, but here. I'm sorry, were you done with saying what you were saying?
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree. I think it could all be done on layer 1.
Okay, so let me ask you a question here. We have other blockchains that have a big network effect, and blockchains that have more capabilities. There's a project. There are many projects right now that are trying to position Solana as a second layer to BTC. Have you heard of anyone deploying a Bitmap Alpha on Solana?
I'm just so focused on my goal. I don't even. As soon as Bitmap was my priority, I stopped focusing on every blockchain. I was working on ETH previously. I completely stopped with ETH. I don't even have any time for any of that because most of my work happens in my brain, and I don't have the mental space to hold, Solana and all that. But I think it's definitely valuable. It's a much more centralized chain in terms of distribution, of initial distribution, and how it operates. It's had flaws in the past. It's stopped working and things are broken. So I have less trust in it, but that's not to say I don't. It's another blockchain. I think it's every attempt is valid. It's just a different approach. I think Bitcoin is the purest.
Okay, so let's get back to Bitcoin. You mentioned that you see like the other Bitcoin forks, the big blocker versions of Bitcoin, they obviously have more capabilities within the aspects of computational power. What would be your thoughts of deploying an alpha on either Bitcoin Cash or BSV for Bitmap, at the very least as a test net, to show what is possible within Bitmap in the future or something like that? Have you thought about that? Is that something you consider? And keep in mind that we're using the same Bitcoin miners. And I've always seen, pardon me for interrupting you, I've always seen these blockchains, all the Bitcoin sisters, having a symbiotic relationship with each other, because indeed they are all positioned to do what is best for the miners, the security of the network, the hash power.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And I've seen Sol maps on Solana, and I've seen there's been ETH maps, and there's Doge maps, and these are all things that these are experiments that have been carried out. But for me, that's not my, let's say, role or my job in this. I think that's why it's open source. Anybody can create that. And I invite anybody who's listening to go and do that. I have no issue with that. It's just that's not my mission.
Okay. What are your thoughts regarding BNP? BNP was a very, it is a very vibrant community still. They feel a little jaded somehow. I don't know. I really don't understand them, because I guess the founders are not as active as they would want them to be. But in my mind, I'm like, dude, they gave you a fungible token based on Bitmap. Like, they delivered. What else? I don't understand why you're upset. I think BNP is a cool project. What were your thoughts about BNP? What are your thoughts of BNP now?
Any airdrop is great. I think they're good, but there are tokens like that, fungible tokens based on Bitmap. There's an aspect of them where they see themselves as the governance of Bitmap, which just doesn't make sense. Bitmap is Bitmap. You don't need an extra token for governance. There's already, even in the white paper, there's mention of the signal, which refers to a way that Bitmap itself can be used as a voting mechanism. I wouldn't say governance, because I think governance is a strong word for an open protocol. That's why I use the word signal, because you're signaling what you want to happen. That's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. It's just,
You want to see how I feel about these people that sometimes on Bitmap want to impose like some sort of government structure on Bitmap? You want to see how I feel? Get off my land, man. That's how I feel, man. I'm like, get off my land. Don't tell me what to do or how to do. Fuck you.
That's it.
Get off my land.
I can't say that, but yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I can say what I want,
Yeah, that's right. So
it's difficult.
I mean, but there's always going to be different initiatives, because it is valuable stuff that we're talking about here. This is the building blocks of the future of the internet. And so I'm very intrigued by what you said, that you don't need big blocks, that you could just deploy by having these upgrades to the inputs and outputs, correct? And that's all Bitmap will need. And you said it's only 2 months away.
Yeah, because the mission of Bitmap started with compression. That was how can we figure out compression to the point where you can have a metaverse on Bitcoin? That's why I went into studying bits, bytes, hex, and all of that. And compression is so important. If you think about the early days of consoles, video games, N64, and before that the NES and all that, you had to fit a very small file size. You had to fit the data onto a very small file size for it to be commercially viable. So I see Bitcoin, the current state of Bitcoin, the same way. We're building the Commodore 64s right now. That's kind of the level we're at.
That's awesome. I want the server farm, but sure, we can do I'm okay with the Commodore 64 on BTC. Let's have fun with that as well. Like I'm okay with the market experimenting with whatever it wants. Let's go for it. You know what I mean?
That's purely I can't say the word. An analogy.
That makes sense, though. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool with me. If you want a Commodore 64, I'll sell you a Commodore 64. That's the market. So where are we going with Bitmap? What do you see on the horizon? Do you see any alpha? What alphas do you see? Where do you see the entrepreneurs around Bitmap going? Because I have to say this, and everybody really knows this. Bitmap is the most grassroots community in the entire on-chain space. Like there's like the core team is like not VC funded. It's all grassroots. There's a lot of purity here. So where are we going, Bitoshi?
Yeah, I'm just going to continue down that path, and um, try and keep my focus directly on building the interweb. And I think interweb is probably a better word than metaverse to describe what we're building. Personally, I think we're so close now, and yeah, just I've been half of my energy is spent trying to figure out what not to do and who not to listen to, which paths not to take. I have to eliminate every single one of those before I know this is what I have to do. Yeah, so right now we're at the point of index.bitmap. That gives us the foundation of how to write directly to your bitmap. But this isn't concerning anything to do with block data. So that's why on off-chain indexes exist right now. But once we get those endpoints and we have full indexing on chain, and all these other elements that we'll be bringing, we'll have the interweb, the metaverse. It will all be readily available to build upon, and yeah, hopefully we can get it fully done before the 1 year anniversary of Bitmap, which is 1st of June.
Wow, congratulations, man. Wow, dude. And you know what's beautiful is that Bitmap did not come with hype. Like hype, this is gonna happen. You just dropped that bad boy. And then there was a groundswell. And then now Bitmap, correct me if I'm wrong, but last time I checked, Bitmap was the biggest NFT series in the world, meaning it has the most holders. Is that still the case?
I haven't checked recently, but yeah, we're pretty. Yeah, man, I'm like so blown away by the success, and I'm
awesome,
so grateful
dude.
for everybody who's come together who believes in it, because I believed in it, and that's why I shut down all of my projects. That's why I stopped. Even some of my friends that I was working with, I cut off everybody. Like I stopped talking to my friends, my family. I was just so focused on figuring this out. So I'm so glad that everybody else who's gotten into it sees the same thing that I do, or at least sees something in it that, yeah.
So I'm looking for Kierkegaard to quote him for you, but I can't find him. I see Heidegger. Kierkegaard said, "That which is most noble and true takes the longest to mature." So congratulations, my friend, because you created the most incredible on-chain community that I've come across that is wholesome, grassroots, and it's just wholesome, bro. It really is. There's no hype here. It's grassroots, no VC money, none of that psyop bullshit. It's like, this is the game plan. This is the goal. You can be part of it if you want. And the people it's slowly becoming like a giant monsoon, bro. It's already a giant wave that has built up. And I think it's just going to wash over all of crypto, in my opinion, because there's nothing else like it. There's nothing else that is proof of work. That was the first proof of work UTXO with the biggest hash power foundation for a metaverse. Like to me, it still boggles the mind. It's still the most exciting project. It is the most exciting project in all of crypto because there's that scary aspect of technology that if something like Bitmap doesn't take off, then we're going to see a bunch of people living in pods with VRs or jacked into their brain like Neuralink, working like it's just a slavery, dude. Like there's no autonomy, there's no freedom. Like I want to touch grass, but if I want to go and play a video game or do something with the metaverse or design a house on the metaverse with augmented reality, I want my sovereignty respected, man. You see what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I see that stuff as like the face crap. Like Half-Life got it right. The headsets, the meta and all that, like is as they're the face crabs of the metaverse. You attach them to their face and they suck out your data.
Fuck that. Hey, let me ask you something. Do you know of anyone making a play for open source hardware in that area? That would be beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Ben from Voxel's is working on something regarding pass-through, but I don't think that's the only thing I know regarding open source. I've got some concepts regarding hardware wallets and things like that, but that's very down the road kind of thing, and there's a lot that needs to be figured out for me.
I understand, but I will give you an idea. This is just an idea. We can erase this if you want and not air it if you want. But my idea is this. Do you remember how Solana created their Solana phone, the Saga? And they
Yeah.
Why couldn't Bitmap have a community-driven open source hardware headset? I would fucking wear that. That I would wear. That would be fucking amazing. Oh my God, the AR Bitmap headset that is open source. That would be amazing. And I'm pretty sure
like the Raspberry Pi of VR.
Pardon me?
Are you saying like the Raspberry Pi of VR, kind of that type of approach?
Exactly. Why not? And there are a lot of cool companies that work with actual computers, very powerful computers, and like companies like that are looking to monetize, that are looking for capital, that are looking to blow up even further. There's Purism, there's System 76, there is there's I think what's the other Pine 64 Pine. There's so many out there, man, that I'm pretty sure if you were to like I'm pretty sure, and they're trusted people. The community has vetted these cryptographers and these engineers, and I'm pretty sure that they would probably do something like this or want to be part of something like this. And it's because their technologies exist. Like I'll give you an example, like Purism. Purism has an operating system based in Linux. They have even a phone, but again, they don't have what it is. It's network effects, my friend. They don't have network effects. But if you were to marry one of these entities with Bitmap, I'm just giving you an idea. We can erase this idea. It's just an idea. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I think that's great, man. I think that's definitely worth exploring. And I'll give you regarding the hardware wallet idea, I'll give you a little alpha whether or not you want to use this. But I'll tell you what, this is way before Bitmap, I had this thought. I wanted to create a offline peer-to-peer hardware wallet. Okay. So that would mean if you think of the same way you'd have Game Boys and link cables trading Pokemon, so that and the technology for that is possible. I've seen aspects of it. I've seen parts of it. I think that in itself would be another thing that's something that I want to focus on. So I'll put that out there in case anybody wants to jump on that, because I don't have the time to focus on every idea that I have. But that is definitely a possibility. That's another billion, trillion, however many. That's a big idea.
You know what's interesting about it, like the ethos of open source hardware that I've come across is that they respect the sovereignty of people, that they take into account the security and the prerequisites of government law. So, for example, a lot of these open source hardware companies would say, if you're a man in China, if you're Chinese, obviously you probably won't feel comfortable if your hardware is being built and put together in the USA, right? So, like have it manufactured. There's that option. You have it manufactured in China for the Chinese person. In the United States, the same thing. If you're a U.S. citizen and you're like, well, I really like what this company's offering of open source software, but I don't feel comfortable with it being manufactured in China or Russia because of whatever political intention, then okay, Cool. We'll do it for you in Texas. They do that. These companies do that. They actually offer that, which I find very beautiful. Again, it comes back to respecting the autonomy of the individual, taking into account what the individual needs in every aspect of their life and serving them. And I think that that's where we find this new area of capitalism that I think a lot of these big tech companies have lost. I think the Apple Vision Pro would be a lot more successful if they say, well, you know what, we're going to build on Bitcoin. And they should, in my opinion. We're going to have a open source counterpart with these specs, like I just explained to you. I think that goes a lot further, because otherwise it's you're caught in a hub and spokes network. This book will teach you to stay away from hub and spokes networks, from centralization. You want to be in a decentralized competitive environment. You want a small world network. You want a blockchain. You want to be competitive. You want to be able to, in a blockchain that scales, that secures your autonomy. And so, dude, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I really appreciate that. Let me ask you before we leave. Last question to that. What are your thoughts on runes? What's going on? What's going on with runes? Because there was a lot of hype, man. I saw a lot of VC money thrown around. I'm going to give you my opinion. A lot of VC money, a lot of hype. And I'm like, dude, this is just like a BRC 20 2.0. And in my mind, I'm like, why, all I saw was hype. All I saw was hype. And I'm like, I don't see substance. But then I look in it, I mean, no disrespect. I'm just being honest, giving my opinion. But then I go back and I think, well, dude, what really vibes with me? What is a project that really resonates with me and that I really care about, that really is grassroots and beautiful and wholesome? And the only thing that comes to mind is Bitmap. And I'm like, that's why you're here, man. It's just Bitmap. So what are your thoughts? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on runes. What happened with runes?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I really appreciate you saying that, because that does mean a lot to me. Regarding runes, I see that as pressure that is being applied to everybody who's working on these kind of things. There's a lot of pressure. I had a lot of pressure applied to me, myself, like to build a layer 2, for example, and to create a fungible token. And I even have some concepts for my own fungible standards that I haven't put out, because that's not my bag. It's not, well, maybe in the future, but that's not really where my brain is at. But runes, I think it's a good concept. But I know that Casey doesn't care much for fungible tokens, so there's a lot of pressure on him to do that, and he's done that. Maybe it's financially motivated, or however it is, but I've got a lot of respect for what they're building, because it is novel. It is a new.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Casey, by the way. So thank you, Casey. Exactly. Thank you for opening up this new frontier for all of us. So no, I by all means, right. I'm not trying to hate on him or anything. I'm just like, in my mind, I saw runes. There's 3 runes, and the other one was like RSIC, runes coin, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what's going on here? Like, I see more of the same. I'm not really seeing anything new. Like, okay, so runestone, runes, and runes coin were not 0 to 1 moments. I'm speaking in Peter Thielish terms, right? It's not 0 to 1. They're like more of a 1 to 2, a 2 to 3 movement in the market. It didn't captivate me. What captivated me was with the hype. I couldn't get away from the hype. But Bitmap to me was really the 0 to 1 moment. BRC 20, the 0 to 1 moment. Does that make sense? Ordinals, the 0 to 1 moment. That's what I look for. And yet I haven't seen another 0 to 1 moment. That Atomicals was I can't call it a 0 to 1 moment. I'm sorry. It's a movement. Let's call it 0.5 to 1 point or to 2 or whatever. You see what I mean? It's not really 0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bitmap was that 0 to 1 moment, man. It really was. Okay, so I'm sorry to cut you off. You were saying?
No, I agree. I agree. I felt that's why I had something that I knew that once I found the path through and figured out how to execute it, that it would be that. It would be like, you know, not to use, well, it would be like a detonation, you know, an explosion, Cambrian explosion, however you want to put it. In like in evolutionary terms, it's the start of something that will continue to expand forever. And the same way Ordinals was. Ordinals was that as well. And yeah, that's why I've got big respect for Casey. And you know, I know how it is. People have criticized me for doing a lot of things the way that you know, when I went out and made some money for BRC 420, things like that. Like, yeah, I understand how that all goes, and you know, at some point you've got to collect your bag. Um, so I have no disrespect to Casey. I've got a lot of love for Casey, and I studied what he did very
Yeah,
carefully.
and the sad part is that and I what I heard through the grapevine, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I think Casey got scammed, bro. I think that a lot of what happened was that I think he had money stolen from him. I think a deal went wrong where like someone that was supposed to be helping him out with ordinals, well, I don't know, something. Either way, the guy, someone did him wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it may,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and it is what it is, man. I mean, there's shitty people everywhere. But the beautiful thing about the blockchain is that it's forever. It's an honest machine, and it will keep you accountable. And if you behave well with other people, it will keep, you know, if you're honest and good to others, people will do good to you. The blockchain never forgets. So that's a good thing.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So no, by all means, dude, I'm very grateful for everything that has happened with Ordinals. Where do you get your inspiration? You mentioned that you know, you keep away a lot of things that keep you from, you know, distracted, and you're very conscientious about where you spend your time. Oh, maybe if you can give us a little bit of your secrets here, secret sauce, like where do you get inspired? Like where do you
Yeah, I
look
mean,
for? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That comes through making mistakes. You have to make the mistakes to know what not to do. That's the thing. Like you can't always be straight down the middle, perfect all the time. That's just not possible. If you're going to be a human, you have to exist in the human realm, not the uh, realm of impossible perfection. So that's the way I kind of see things. So it's like balancing between. I try and do as much of that in private as possible, but you know,
Okay, so
it is what it is.
okay, so
Yeah,
here's a question, and you can answer it as however you want. You don't have to answer it at all if you don't. But how tempting was the VC offers that you've gotten? How tempting have they been? Were they tempting at all? Were they big offers? Can you share the amount that they offered you and for what?
I can share. Well, will say I did get offered in the realm of, you know, to begin with as a starter, like, you know, a million, a couple million to start off, and then build from there. And that was very tempting because I come from I don't exactly come from money, but I just knew that that's not the right thing to do. I knew what it would do to Bitmap, and yeah, I just
Congratulations, man. That's beautiful, bro. That's beautiful, man. Thank you for having such an abundant mindset. And I think that's you're gonna reap a lot more because of that mindset. And always, your life is just gonna be richer, like substantially richer in all the ways because of what you just did. Thank you for doing that. Really appreciate that. So I'm sorry, you were saying.
that's a good way to put it. Abundant mindset, not a scarcity mindset. Because at the end of the day, you're always. I always think of it like, you know, and you'll always be provided for.
Yes.
In terms of ideas, in terms of everything. So I never. I used to be very protective over my ideas and my thoughts, and some things you have to until it's ready. You know what I mean? You have to let it build, and but you can't be so protective over your ideas when you're trying to create a network effect. Like you have to, when it's ready, you have to let the world know and give it to the world. It's like a gift. I see Bitmap as a gift. So yeah, I just hope that I just hope for the best, and I wish that everybody who's listening right now can see what my intentions are and see that what I'm doing is purely for the benefit of everybody.
Yeah, and I can say what everybody knows and has, Bitmap was not a rug at all. And look at how many holders, how many hands there are, invested in this project, believing in this project as the biggest NFT per capita in the world. Most people, the NFT that has the most holders is Bitmap to this day. This is the NFT series, or let's call it this way, the digital asset platform in the world that is most secure, that is built for a metaverse, that has the most holders on the planet. So the floor price for Decentraland on Ethereum was like ridiculous. It was over $10,000, right? You were more into that. I wasn't really into.
I think it was quite, yeah, it was about that. Yeah, 8 to 10K. Yeah.
That was a floor price last bull run for an inferior off-chain land that is based on proof of stake. And I think a lot of I'm be very kind of like honest here with you, dude. I think that a lot of the reason why Bitmap is not as well known, even though it's like so fucking awesome, is because you don't take the VC money. So in a sense, in a sense, the positive aspect is that it creates a stronger swell of people that are fully aware of what's happening. And it's not like just a hype, VC hype. And I don't think deep down, I don't think VCs like Bitmap. I really don't, because they don't run it. People do. The people do. And they hate it. And is there a VC competitor to Bitmap right now? Are they trying to compete with you? I'm pretty sure they're thinking, they're racking their head, like, how do we compete against this? But you have metrics that they don't. You were first. First is first in ordinal theory and in life. First is first. You were the 0 to 1 moment. You are the metaverse for Bitcoin. You have the most hash power, Bitcoin itself. You have the most users. You have the most entrepreneurs on the planet building on it. So what could they offer? What could they offer the market right now to compete with you? Have they tried? What is it? What are they trying to do?
I've seen it, but I won't say any. Well, I mean, people try to replicate based on the things I say and based on words that I've used to describe what Bitmap is. They'll try and replicate what made Bitmap special. But I think that's the wrong approach. I think if you're trying to create that 0 to 1, you shouldn't be trying to replicate what already exists. It should be its own thing. And I think that's, that exists. There's lots of, I don't want to get too into details of anything like that, because it's so easy to name drop, and I don't want to.
No, I understand. I understand. You don't have to, of course not. Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I try to keep my focus, and anything like that, I know not to take the VC money. I know after my experience with working for somebody else, not to do that. That very quickly stopped once I realized it was not the path. Yeah, I've been through it, man. So I know what to look out for now. And yeah, I'm here.
It's awesome. So let me ask you, is there anything else you want to share with us before we end this? Is there anything else that you would have liked me to have asked you that I didn't?
Well, I think we covered a lot. The biggest thing that I think about is the eternity aspect of it. Once you touch eternity, it can be very disconcerting because when you're dealing with eternal matters, it's a struggle. It's a lot of weight to carry, especially in my position and a position like Casey's and Satoshi back when he created Bitcoin. It's a lot. So you have to come back down to earth, and that's the only way to get from 0 to 1, if that makes sense.
Okay, so what do you mean by you said eternity? Is that what you said? Eternity? The fact that Bitmap, it lives forever?
Yeah, so you can't predict the future, so we will never know how far that will go. But we're talking about similar timescales to the pyramids, potentially, and potentially way beyond that.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. Like, Apple will have a sunset as a corporation before Bitmap has a sunset as a protocol that sits on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I agree.
The Bitcoin blockchain is forever.
Yeah. Just as Wu-Tang.
What you said, Wu-Tang? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Ain't nothing to fuck with, man. We had them at Anarchapulco, right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude.
Awesome.
Bro, they're fucking amazing, dude. These guys would like we would be having a conversation and then they would give you advice, or give their opinion in freestyle. Like, what kind of human are you with that mind that you're having a conversation with me about whatever random topic and you start freestyling to make your point? Like, like you are a walking show, my friend. Like, oh, dude, they're amazing. They are amazing, dude. They are amazing. Ooh, heavy, beautiful stuff, man. Hey, thank you so much for the gift of Bitmap, Bitoshi. On behalf of everyone in my community, that's a BitLord, on behalf of everyone in crypto, on behalf of everyone in Bitcoin, because I know that you haven't gotten as much attention as you deserve because you didn't take the VC money. So on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for the gift of Bitmap. The world is better off because of it. We all have hope now, and that the future, now we have at the very least, there is an option and there is a path for a free internet that lives on Bitcoin. So thank you so much, sir, for the gift of a real metaverse. Thank you.
Thank you, Raph. It's been a great conversation. I appreciate you doing this. This is amazing.
All right, guys, share it, subscribe, hit the notification button, pass it around, like it, comment. Until next time, peace, love, anarchy.
Stolen transistors, heavy scripted in the missing. Swallow whole solar system, cold control within the wisdom. Put holes in the system, kill the force that makes decisions. Break the chains, restrict your vision. Load the nukes, we on a mission. Light 'em up quick, split coin, then we dip. Blah, 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 you can suck my dick. Light 'em up quick, split coin, then we dip. We coming for your coin, and we coming for your bitches. Bury 'em deep in the ditches. Filling our bridges with riches. Smell of the stitches, cover the ridges in blood. We are the ones coming to fuck your shit up. I live forever on this blockchain. You think I'm out here playing fucking games? Feel my wrath, it's time this shit gon' change. The water coming when you burning flames.
Like that Skrilla, Wu-Tang, the echoes fake killer. The other side of the inner, entertaining the mind of a
killer. Gonna live forever, control coming at ya. The blockchain, what you step, you're an actor. Pay my respect to the clan, not the whack one. Don't give a damn if you're white or you're black on. Face goes from the lacquer sun. Pac-Man with the gold to his neck like Pax was. Diamond hands that are banded together like Snatch does. Take a snap to the packs like hologram. Stand tacked up to the back like Jack. Whoa, we don't smash fans with a turn like Astro.
Rolling forever on this blockchain. You think I'm out here playing fucking games? Feel my wrath, this time this shit gon' change. No water coming when you burn in flames.
Real blockchain is like NFTs. So when you pull up, join Hennessy. Cause we cooking like Menezes. Keep you in the metaverse and select these. Oh no, apologies. African boy with a contrology. When I come around, it's a methodology. Elephant body with an oncology. Walk away from me life, mancology. Never I can't, mancology. Pull up in my team like a gangster. My son say that is a bouncer. Goody from the Santa. I bet the good news from the father. Pray for me. See you in the church. Oh my God, we're so blessed.
On this blockchain. You think I'm out here playing fucking games? Feel my wrath, this time this shit gon' change. No water coming when you burn in flames.
This time. Told you twice, hit your ghost face. This is about to sit in time and space. Let's go.
Now we are dealing with a possible world war. Some will say we are already in a world war. My condolences and prayers go out to everyone suffering under tyranny. It really sucks. I'm really sorry. But it seems as if people are starting to wake up regarding crypto more and more each day. And so it's in the description right here to read where we give our secret sauce and what we teach our subscribers, because things are just that bad. You know, everyone needs this information. People need to know about sound cryptocurrencies that are actually private by default, and to know how to properly use crypto.